You guys are a beautiful crowd. I think it's perfect weather for this today. I'm glad that it's cold and raining and maybe snowing and maybe doing other stuff. Because you guys committed to being here today and making a statement about why we need to make climate change a political priority. And that you guys are committed to doing that. And regardless of what challenges come up with the weather, you're going to find a way to make it work. And that's what you're doing here today, is finding a way to make it work. And that's what this generation is all about. Because when this generation faces the climate crisis, you don't have the luxury of only facing the parts of the climate crisis that are convenient, or the parts that are politically expedient, or the parts that people tell us are politically feasible to deal with. You get the whole thing. You're going to have the whole climate crisis on your shoulders. That is the burden that is dropped upon this generation by the generation that is now in charge. And you are going to find a way to make it work. That's the commitment that you're showing here today, and all the things that we do in the climate movement. We're showing that we are committed to not turning away from that full challenge and finding a way to make it work. And if politicians like Deval Patrick claim to be on our side, claim to be an ally of the youth, and claim to be a climate champion, he doesn't get the luxury either of only tackling the parts of the climate crisis that are convenient. He doesn't get the luxury of only tackling climate change when it doesn't piss off powerful and rich people. Being on our side means that he tackles the full crisis and finds a way to make it work. We're talking about a ban on new fossil fuel infrastructure. And we know that that's not an easy thing to do. We know that there are challenges involved in that. We know that there are obstacles and there are risks. But there are all those things that this generation is going to face for the rest of your lives in dealing with the climate crisis. And there is no amount of political risk that a politician today is taking in tackling the climate crisis that compares to the risk that has been forced onto your generation. And so if they're going to stand with us, and they're going to get us on their side, it means they are committing to finding a way to make it work. Even if it's difficult, even if there are risks that come with banning new fossil fuel infrastructure, they will find a way to make it work. That's the kind of commitment we need from anybody who's going to wear the mantle of being a climate champion. And if Deval Patrick is willing to take that step, if he's willing to really stand with us and commit to finding a way to making this work, he then passes on that invitation to the politicians who will follow him here in the State House, and politicians and other leaders around the country. He'll be sending the message that Massachusetts is the kind of place that doesn't back down from a challenge and is committed to finding a way to making it work. And with that invitation, he'll be inviting those kind of committed people from around the country to come to Massachusetts and help find a way to make it work. Even without new fossil fuel infrastructure, even without those easy solutions like new natural gas plants and new pipelines and those kinds of things, we will tackle that challenge and find a way to make our energy system in this state work without fossil fuels. He will invite those kind of innovators to this state and set an example for other politicians around the country. Because when this generation is dealing with climate change, you're not gonna compare the way you deal with climate change to what other generations have dealt with. And so Deval Patrick shouldn't have the luxury of comparing himself to what other politicians are doing. What he needs to compare himself to is what the scale of the crisis demands. That's the challenge that this generation faces. The climate change for you is not just a political situation. It is a reality. And your commitment is to rising to what is physically and morally necessary to create a healthy and livable future. Yeah. And today we're here to ask Deval Patrick to join us in that. Join us in tackling the whole climate crisis and finding a way to making it work, as challenging as that may be. If he's with us, he will find a way. That's the ask we have for Deval Patrick today. Find a way to make it work. Thank you.